Word of his illness reached town. Dr. Vondi's sister left immediately for Middle Island. Finding him unconscious, Elizabeth stayed with her brother until his death the following day. Relatives attempted to rescue her from the mandatory quarantine, but were Welcome to episode 8 of the Explore Everywhere podcast. Today's featured product is the A for Adventure Kids book, which is available on the Explore Everywhere Media online store. Links to the store are on all the Hiking MB pages. It's a letter book that goes through all the letters of the alphabet and has different adventures and outdoor type of activities. My favorite is hiking, so H is for hiking, way out on the path. You can hike your hike slowly or hike your hike fast. When you go hiking, you'll all bring a pack for all the fun things you'll find out on the track. You can hike in the fog or hike right through the rain. You can hike up a valley or hike on the plains. Like I say, it goes through all the letters of the alphabet. It has Y for yoga, U for under the sea, T for travel, S for surfing, and so on and so on. It's a great book for kids if you want to read about all the different wonderful things you can do outdoors. So in today's episode, which is timely, but I don't want to talk about it too much because it's all over the media, is the COVID-19 outbreak. My take on the whole thing is that it's not blown out of proportion, because I think the governments are doing the right things by shutting stuff down and making sure it doesn't spread. But I think people can get caught up on the media. It's everywhere on all the news all the time. That's all you see. Case in point is the toilet paper thing, where there's no real reason why people should be hoarding toilet paper, but I think it's just a fact that it's all over social media all the time. That's all people see, that people are getting caught up in it. So I've always been a believer that what you expose yourself to is kind of where your mental state will be. So for example, if I listen to music, I really want to go home and play the guitar. If I listen to podcasts about hiking, I more want to go and do hikes. And if I sit on social media and listen about the COVID-19 outbreak, I get caught up in the frenzy, and that's all that's on my mind. I think it's a good time for everybody to hit the reset. It's amazing how fast they can, the governments can shut down the borders and the planes and the flights and the travel, which sucks for a lot of people that had travel planned. But best thing to do is all the social distancing and stuff, but get out and go for a walk is my number one recommendation. Number 2 is to limit how much you watch on social media about COVID-19. Find out what you need to find out, but it's getting a little redundant now after even just a couple of days on what social distancing means and how you should self-isolate. If you don't know that by now, then you haven't been watching any of the media. So find that stuff out, the important stuff, but then shut it off, go for a walk. If you have to stay home from work or kids have to stay home from school, make it a time to go as a family to go for a walk or go with somebody you know. Just make sure you're social distancing, but it's not hard when you're out in nature. Go for snowshoeing. Too bad it wasn't a little later in the spring, because it would be nicer to get out, but it's still great snowshoeing. And the weather's starting to get warm. Like today, I think it's -5. It's cold overnight, so the snowshoeing's nice and hard. Great conditions. Don't get caught up in the frenzy. Don't get anxious over all of the media. Turn it off. My goal is to try, and I'll be working from home for the next couple weeks. My goal is to try and get out. I usually do that at this time of year anyways, but try and get out every day for some kind of walk. I'll keep you updated on how that's going. There's nothing better for your psychology during a pandemic, or not even during a pandemic, than to get out on a sunny day like today. It's blue skies, the sun's out, the birds are singing in the background. It's a bit cold with the breeze, but when you're in the woods, you're out of the way. It's not too bad. So get out, go for a walk, even if it's just for 15, 20 minutes a day. If you're working from home, that might give you a little bit of a chance to get out more. I save about an hour and a half commute time every day, so it saved me quite a bit of time and just money for gas and stuff, so take advantage of that. There's going to be long-term repercussions to the economy, but there's not much you can do about that. So stay safe, practice all the precautions, and then turn off the social media and all of the other news about COVID-19. With that, what I plan to do also in the next couple weeks is to put out a lot more content on hiking and the benefits of hiking and how it fits in, just to try and help balance out some of the COVID-19 news, because that's all I see on social media these days. The website traffic for Hiking MB has actually dropped off quite a bit over the last week or so with all that's going on, but I noticed yesterday that it's actually coming back with a vengeance. Hopefully people are taking this time to hit the reset, get out and concentrate on what's important, get out and enjoy the beautiful world around us, and get an appreciation for what we have. Something else I wanted to talk about is the safety this time of year. It's spring, and there's always I always try and put out some kind of safety bulletin this time of year. Things are starting to melt. A lot of the ice features, like the Parley Brook Amphitheater and the Midland Ice Caves, are all made of ice. When they start to melt and fall apart, you don't want to be close to them. So if you do go visit them to see what they're like, make sure you keep your distance. When I visited the Parley Brook Amphitheater a couple years ago, it was in February, but it was a really warm spell that we had, and when I put my hand on the ice wall, the water would run and cover my hand, like there's that much water running down it. And there's small pieces of ice falling from above, which can be dangerous. In the spring, all that stuff starts to fall apart and collapse, and you don't want to be near that when that starts to happen. If you have an ice climbing helmet, that would be a good choice too, but just stay back, keep your distance. The other thing that's dangerous this time of year is around waterfalls, and since I've been keeping track of hiking in such detail that I do, I've seen cases where people have actually fallen in the ice at the top of waterfalls and fallen down through the waterfall and then being stuck behind the ice at the bottom of the waterfall. That is not somewhere you want to be. So if you go visit waterfalls this time of year, again, stay back. Do not try and cross any ice or water around the waterfall, because it's very questionable this time of year, especially up at the top of waterfalls where people, I don't know, get complacent, or they think it's not as dangerous because that's not where the main force of the waterfall is. But stay away from all water crossings around waterfalls this time of year. If you do that, you can go visit some waterfalls, and when they do start to break up and there's a lot of water flowing, they're very impressive. We'll get some rain and stuff, and that'll make them just completely full of water. But just when you go visit them, stay safe, be careful on the ice around some of these things. Wear ice grippers where you can, but use caution. I heard that last weekend the Midland Ice Caves, like to get down in the valley, it's pure bottle after it rains, so almost impossible to get your grip. So if you slide down in there, you might not be able to get back up. Just use caution, be aware, and have a great spring. Today's hike is actually, we thought it might be timely for my daughter and I to go and visit Middle Island Park in Miramichi. What that is and why it's timely is that it's actually an old quarantine island. There's a few in the Miramichi River. That Sheldrick Island was another quarantine station. I read a book last year on islands of New Brunswick. I think I bought it in St. Andrews. I don't know the author right off, but I'll try and put it in the show notes. Amazing book about the history of all the islands around New Brunswick. And a lot of them used to be, there's a hospital island actually off of Minister's Island around St. Andrews. That was an old quarantine station. A lot of them were old quarantine stations. Some of them were fishing villages. Some of the ones in the mouth of Miramichi Bay that I'd still like to get to. It talked about the history of Shediac Island. There's a lot of like medium-sized islands off the coast of New Brunswick. I think another one was Grindstone Island down near Mary's Point in Riverside, Albert. The history of the lighthouses is a lot, but a lot of them were quarantine stations. So me and my daughter went out there yesterday just because of all that's going on. We thought that was a good place to go for a quick walk. It was extremely windy and extremely cold. There's some wind noise in the background of the audio, but it's not too bad. I listened to it. I read some of the signs out there, and if you think we have it bad now, some of the signs are just horrific what they had to go through on their quarantine back then. So if you miss a flight because of something, think of the people that were stuck in the bowels of ships with rats and mice coming across the ocean. and how bad that must have been, and then being stuck on a small island in the Miramichi River. Moral of the story is appreciate what you have, do what you can, but then get away from the social media and news. Go for a walk and use this time to get back connected to the people that you might take for granted on a day-to-day basis. So with that, let's go walk around Middle Island. Keisha, where are we?
Middle Island.
Why are we here?
I don't know, snowshoeing?
Because we're ridiculous?
It's cold.
The wind is ridiculous. We're checking out the quarantine. We're going to quarantine because of COVID-19. Oh my God. We make it that far.
We're going to make it to the actual lot.
Really? Oh my God, the battery's dying. No, it's not. Good. I don't remember seeing that building before. You know it's windy when this is all a big snowdrift. I'm surprised nobody walks out here.
What?
I'm surprised nobody walks out here. I mean, on better days.
People walked out here earlier because, like, when I was in the ski, there was, like, there's tracks out here.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't just from us. Like, there's tracks before we came.
Oh, yeah, there's walking tracks, but you'd think there'd be more of a beat-down trail around here, but...
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, we had a beat down trail when we were here and it was snowing then.
Yeah. It's not bad in the woods. Let's go out in the point and see how windy it is out there. You want to read it? Read it for me. The Supreme Sacrifice. You've read it before. Have we read it? When were we out here last? Let's go sit on the bench out at the point. I'm sure the bench out at the point will be nice and warm. Holy. Actually, it's not bad. Oh. The wind's on that side of the island. The clouds going flying, eh? The clouds are flying overhead. What? That's a snow squall over that way. It almost looks like it's going to clear up that way. Okay, I'm reading the sign. Should I do it dramatically or? Dramatic reading?
No, I'm good.
The Supreme Sacrifice. No, me. While others refused, Dr. John Bondi volunteered. The selfless young man set aside his life to help those quarantined at Middle Island. Alone in this task, he worked long hours under crude conditions to save the sick and comfort the dying. Whew, take a breath. In the midst of his work, Dr. Vondi fell ill and became too weak to fight the fever that surrounded him. No longer able to respond to the cries for help that echoed across the island, Dr. Vondi surrendered to the disease and joined the many souls he had been unable to save. It says Family Matters. When word of his illness reached town, Dr. Vondi's sister left immediately for Middle Island. Finding him unconscious, Elizabeth stayed with her brother until his death the following day. Relatives attempted to rescue her from the mandatory quarantine, but were stopped by guards in order to join her there instead. Wonder who did the mural. It's a really cool mural. Island quarantine. A quick glance at this mural reveals a very different Middle Island than the one you see today. With the arrival of the Lushtok in 1847, this quiet island erupted with activity. Quickly transformed into a quarantine station, became the only refuge for sick passengers as they struggled to stay alive. Take a closer look at life in quarantine on Middle Island. Can you imagine fighting scarlet fever in an old fish shed or canvas tent? No, can't imagine it. It is so windy out. Shelby's hiding by the side of the takeout. These signs out here in the open: the Great Potato Famine. In 1845, a mysterious fungus swept through Ireland, setting upon millions of healthy potato plants ready for harvest. Within days, potatoes removed from these infected plants blackened, withered, and rotted. Dependent on the potato to survive, poor Irish families began to starve. Selling livestock, pawning their few possessions, and borrowing money from greedy lenders did not stop the famine from taking more than 1 million lives. To escape death, many left their beloved homeland, boarding ships bound for Canada in search of a better life. Ireland's superfood. In the 1800s, more than 3 million Irish peasants survived on potatoes. Rich in protein, carbohydrates, and vitamins, the vegetable was the most stable crop in the poorest regions of Ireland. Families ate boiled potatoes 3 times a day. A small potato field could feed the family of 6 for the entire year with leftovers. Imprisoned at sea, trapped inside the belly of a ship, a fatal fever inched closer to your bed. What would you do? Irish immigrants bound for Canada had only the frigid waters of the ocean to escape to. Crowded below deck with little to eat, passengers became ill as disease spread rapidly aboard ships like the Lushtach and Richard White. The death toll rose so quickly that many of these coffin ships diverted to the nearest port for immediate aid. After nearly 2 months at sea, this promising passage had unraveled into a terrifying struggle to stay alive. A good deal. Exploiting the misery of the poor Irish families, ship owners charged less to those willing to bunk in the cargo hold. Crowded like cattle below deck, passengers enjoyed the same comforts as their rodent roommates. No bedding, sanitation, or fresh air. Oof, that is rough. Signs. Enough depressing death, famine signs.
So I now have to survive the walk back.
You're gonna survive?
I hope so.
Yeah, it's pretty cold out there on that road in.
What?
It's pretty cold on the road in. There you go. That'll make Grampy's warm basement look good. I want to take a picture of this mural. David Daly. The artist is David Daly. You don't know him? Oh, that was interesting. Yeah, definitely nicer art in the woods. I don't think the sunset's going to amount to much either. No. Shelby, what do you think of Little Island in the freezing cold? How cold? Yeah, that's a bit ridiculous. Oh, I can't get the trunk to open. What's going on here? Maybe the battery's frozen. That was our cold and windy walk out around Middle Island. It's beautiful in the summer. Even if there's no wind, it's a nice place to walk around. It's a small island. I think it's only 15 acres maybe. It's shrunk in size. I was reading online. It's shrunk in size by about 5 acres in the last 150 years. But it's still a nice place to take a walk. Half of it's field, half of it's forest. I guess it would be the eastern tip of it. You're looking in the distance at the Centennial Bridge in Miramichi. Some of the other stuff in the distance. So cool views. There's a beach there in the summertime. There's all kinds of interpretive signs. I only read a few of what's there. Very depressing stuff from when it was quarantine island between, I think it was 1837 and 1870, something in that range. Very dire conditions that they had back then. Appreciate what we do have today. I mean, this isn't great stuff, the pandemic that's going on now, but it is amazing that basically everything's shut down as fast as it can. And so with that, go for a walk, turn off the media, and enjoy the spring. First day of spring's this week. Get out there. Thanks for joining us. Join us again next time as we explore the world through hiking trails, experience these amazing places and some of the amazing history in some of these places. And soon we'll be meeting the people that love and protect them. Hope to see you on the trail.